Welcome to another awesome episode of Big Talk with DSA. And today we're going to be looking at galvanizing women in the electoral process. Thank you for coming. Please have your seat. You guys are fantastic. Okay, so today I have a former House of Representative member, Honorable Dayo Bush Alebiosu. He's also an architect. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Also, we have Dolapo Agbede. She's a visually impaired human resource management expert. She is a disability inclusion advocate who was instrumental to the progress of Follow This Act campaign, which has been at the forefront of monitoring, tracking, and driving the implementation of the Nigerian Disability Act. You're welcome on the show. So, first of all, I'm quite curious about your name. Bush. Alebioshu.
I get that a lot.
The Bush part, is it a nickname or?
It's an abbreviation that turned into a family name.
Oh.
It was actually abbreviated by the late fella Nicola Pokuti.
Oh.
It's
What's the full version?
It's the full version is Bushra Alebioshu.
Bushra
Alebioshu.
Oh.
And when my father schooled in England with Fela,
Yes.
I think some white people found it hard to pronounce.
Yes.
So he would say, just call him Bush. And he just stuck.
Oh.
And never left.
Oh, interesting.
You know.
So as a lawmaker at the national level, what have you done to help women to get involved in the electoral process?
First of all, I have always been a member of the Progressive Party. I come from a political background. My family's been all the way before, during the UPN, all the way to the APC currently.
Wow.
And it wasn't such a big thing in the past. But with time, it grew to be a very important thing, something of desire.
Yeah.
And you would see that right from ACN, or the ACN days, the party decided that they were going to slash the sales of forms, for example, by 50% to encourage more female participation.
Yeah.
And on the last count, I think the nomination forms were actually free for women. And of course, a few men kind of threw a bit of tantrum, not in public, but said, but those who understood. Now, when you say, what have we done? What did I do? Like I said, it's something that has, that has climbed over time.
What has your experience been with women in politics? How did they get there? What is missing? What is lacking? Did they go through godfathers? How are women who are already in politics, how did they emerge?
Well, I would tie that question to what we term godfatherism.
Okay.
Godfatherism is where I'll start from. First of all, is you need a godfather in whatever you do. A godfather is a mentor.
Okay.
Somebody who started something
So
before you.
change the name from godfather to mentor, political mentor.
Political mentor.
Yeah.
But it's the street, I'd say the street parlance is godfather. And the question is, what kind of godfather do you want? You have godfathers in America. I don't know if you've seen the documentary. It's a documentary. The American Godfather, the Black Godfather, who had his hands in a lot of things. When issues came up for black people, he stood up for black people. His name's kind of eluded me right now, but it'll come back very briefly.
Yeah, but for women, how?
Now, here, you discover that I have had the opportunity to have served with women, and these are very cerebral women, very sound women. these are women who did not get there on the basis of the fact that I'm a woman. They got there, you know, the saying goes, you don't get paid for your time, you get paid for your value.
Yes.
You know, they brought value to the table,
Yeah.
and they had no, there was no choice but to actually recognize the value they brought, and that was what actually opened doors for them.
Okay.
And we had a fantastic working relationship. I can mention a few. I worked with a lady called Doris Ubo. I worked with Betty Apiafi, who's now in the Senate.
Okay.
I served with Uche Kwenife. They call her Iyom, who's in the Senate as well. With Inena, whose intellectual, you know, abilities top notch. And
let me come to Dolapo. What has been your frustration, not just as a visually impaired person, but in terms of women generally being able to have a voice, being able to, you know, create change politically and otherwise?
Thank you, DSA. So I think the first thing that comes top of mind is the fact that as a woman, and then a woman with a disability, tokenism always typically has a way of showing up.
Okay.
Another thing that would typically happen is the fact that it's good to have the women and the underserved in whatever category as part of the photo ops. You know, so there's always a sense of insincerity to the alleged commitment to moving the needle, you know. So some strides have happened between 2019 till date. At least we had the act go to, the bill go to act in January 2019. Last year, the commission has been put in place. Did they have a budget to run with? Not really. Now, I'm speaking specifically to the Disability Commission. Are there more women visible? I would say yes. And for me, I think it's for two reasons. Number one, yes, the environment is becoming a bit more enabling for women. The environment has no choice.
Yes.
You really have to have the right kind of optic. It does not look good when there are no women at the table.
Exactly, it's boring.
Beyond being boring, like there's an entire demography, an entire context. And in fact, let's do the census. They say we are more. You need us.
Yes.
So you need us. Ladies, what do you think? You need us.
Right. Okay. We'll go on a break, and when we come back, we'll look at the fact that a lot of the men don't want women to come into politics. Whether that's true or not, we'll look at this when we're right back. We'll be right back.
The major secret I have learned that has made me successful in business is that it's not how much money you make, but how much it works for you and the generations you keep it for. The only way to achieve this is by investment. Real estate is the only type of investment that has stood the test of time, and we guarantee you massive wealth from generation to generation. What are you waiting for? Invest in real estate today. Invest with GVest today.
Welcome back to Big Talk with Dr. Stephen Akintayo, and we've been discussing galvanizing women in the electoral process. Honorable Dayo, the Gender Equality Bill, right, is as if the men in the House don't want it passed. How do we go about making sure this goes through?
First of all, we have to understand that these things aren't automatic. You have to convince people. Culture has a serious role to play in any kind of politics or democracy of the world. Now, democracy isn't a natural way of life
for Africans.
For Africans.
Yeah.
So we have to domesticate it and play it differently. Now, there are certain biases that we have that are unconscious and we don't even realize we have them.
Very true.
Affinity bias,
Yes.
confirmation bias, contrast effect bias. And when you look at all of these things, they are branches they're embedded in our culture.
Yes.
Especially where you see a situation where the usual, let me not natural, the usual African mentality that, oh, the man is the provider. And the one who builds the home, who builds the family, the builder is actually the mother, while the father is the male, is the one who goes to fend for. Now, when you analyze these biases, you find out that, affinity bias. Same is, I'm comfortable with same. I'm not saying me, I'm saying this is what happens there. I'm comfortable with same. The confirmation effect bias, even where you see the same thing is happening to younger people now, with the younger ones, with women, with people with disability. You have to go the extra mile and stand away from those things to actually show that, listen, this is the value I'm bringing to the table.
Yes.
When you're able to sell that value, then it's able to move those biases aside. But it's the way and manner, it's the way or the approach. It's expected that, oh, it's a bill, it has to pass.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable. Dolapo, you are a diversity inclusion expert. What role does culture play in this?
So we need to, there's no way we will not acknowledge culture.
Yeah.
But we also know that culture evolves, doesn't it? There are many things that we're no longer doing today that we heard our ancestors did.
We're doing, yeah.
Some of them would be really shocking for our reality today. So that culture is one of the obstacles to navigate is definitely a given. But one thing is also for sure, that as Honorable said, the people who are underserved, in this case we are speaking about women, persons with disability, anyone who feels shortchanged in whatever way, we need to consistently continue to show up, give value, provide the kind of examples that would trigger reevaluating some hard stances that are in place. Because the more we do that, it will now be easier for people to take the decision to move the needles in the places that are no longer useful for the culture for today. The generation that we're in, technology has done so much. Look at the massive push to have digital relevance in our electoral process. Those are some of the things that culture needs to shift. But you can now imagine that even if I have that home builder at home, or that person with disability who really cannot easily navigate physical spaces like on election day, and we really did get to the kind of point where we could vote with confidence from home, or we could make sure that we're getting the results the right way. Technology would also, an adoption of technology, which is a massive cultural issue right now, a case in point. You can see the entire pinpoint of how that would really drastically, number one, boost engagement of the younger people and those who are underserved. Number two, give a feel of credibility to whatever is being done. Leveraging technology would also automatically put jobs into the hands of our teaming, smart, tech-centric Nigerians. So, I mean, that is already a basket and an ecosystem which will shake the table of culture as we know it today.
Fantastic. Honorable Bush, I mean, you're a politician, and when you people do your thing, you know, one of the major role you give women is to wear Ankara. You know, Honorable Bush has come, our son, and then they are singing. Are there no better roles that we can give our women, even in party politics, aside singing and wearing Ankara, even in rural politics?
Contrary to politics is local, first of all. We need to understand that. Now, the way politics is played, even in the Southwest, I would use that as an example. In Lagos State is different from Ogun State. In Lagos State, the way politics is played in Badagry is different from how it's played in Ikoyi or in Surulere. So you have to understand those things.
Dolapo, he has thrown the jab that
Yes,
you are elites. I don't want speaking grammar. And you are not at the grassroots. You are not, you know, cooking the soup.
From bottom up.
Yeah, exactly. But you want to eat the fruit.
I think, well, I would take a nod to say that Honorable's context could be correct. But again, we now have a brand new movement. This one is for sure. And at least I will speak specifically to the disability community, where there is a massive grassroots rallying to, I mean, everyone was excited with the 2019 signing, like I said. And if we looked at the recent elections that happened, and I would speak to the Anambra one, because I followed that a little bit. I mean, persons with disability were part of the observers that were on ground, pointing out, and in fact, the main person who debriefed that day was a lady based out in Plateau State, who was one of the observers in Anambra State. And some of the things that they called attention to were like little things that previously would have discouraged a person. Again, I'm using this context of the disability just to shed a bit more light. And she was pointing out the fact that, you know, of course, the norm is to use like school compounds to do elections, you know, so the platform, the place where you're supposed to go and cast your vote is possibly on a raised area with steps. There were no ramps for wheelchair users, but there were some people who were determined enough to want to, they got lifted up and lifted back down. There's the optics of, oh, it's not so dignified, but again, what we chose to see is a person who's determined to make their vote count. They had canopies for persons living with albinism, so that I mean, you cannot be exposed to the sun. It's not good for any of us, but for them, it's a more critical issue because of skin cancer. So they had specified that there should be shady areas for persons with albinism. And the interesting thing is there's a massive movement within INEC with the engagement to make sure that this little nuances that were not typically top of mind for previous elections, now with the smaller pockets of elections happening, it's continuous improvement point by point.
I think we are guilty also in the studio. We don't have a place for wheelchair to come on stage. So because
it's a work in progress.
Yes,
you
these
know,
are things we all need to begin to work on. A break. I need to go on a break, and we can ask you the audience question. But before I go on a break, I want to ask, you know, Honorable Bush, what does it take for a woman to become the president of this nation? And as an alpha male, will you vote for a woman to be the president of this nation?
Like I said in life, you don't get paid for your time, you get paid for what you bring to the table, your value. I realized that in life you must have something to negotiate with. Now, quickly relating it to this, when you look on the global plane, even the United Kingdom has just moved from 32% women in parliament to 35%. There are just 3 countries that are on record to have 50% parity. We're talking Rwanda, we're talking Cuba, and I think the UAE. Those are the 3 who have been able to record this. Projections, global projections, as a matter of fact, as we speak, it's just 25.5% representation.
Will you vote for a woman?
Absolutely, based on what she brings. I will not vote because she's a woman. I will vote for value that is brought to the table. And when it comes from a woman, you certainly can count on it.
Beautiful. We'll go on a break. When we return, it's time to take questions from you guys. We'll be right back.
The major secret I have learned that has made me successful in business is that it's not how much money you make, but how much it works for you and the generations you keep it for. The only way to achieve this is by investment. Real estate is the only type of investment that has stood the test of time, and we guarantee you massive wealth from generation to generation. What are you waiting for? Invest in real estate today. Invest with G-Vest today.
Okay, welcome back to Big Talk with DSA. And we're going to take questions right now. So, yes.
To win an election anywhere in the world, you need just 3 things: money, media, and the majority. And over the years, we've seen women complain that women don't give them chance in the political space. whereas they have this number, because politics itself is a game of number. Why is it that even women, in spite of the fact that they have this number, they always find it difficult to support themselves whenever a woman actually showed up or decide to run for a particular political post? We see that at the end of the day, all these women that are complaining, they end up going to vote for the men. So why is it that women always find it difficult to use their number and their influence to support female contestants? Thank you.
Good question. Okay, number 2.
You said something about culture, and we've been made to know that Nigerian is patriarchal in nature. They are male-dominated in every aspect, in politics and family life and all other ways. So I want to ask, what do we have to do differently as a woman to not, do politics the way it's been done? Because we also know that politics is a dirty game, like they all say. So what is it that we need to do? What do we do so that we don't have to play dirty or be dirty to gain political power or something?
I like that.
Okay, good day, everyone. My name is Awazie Beauty. So I would like to ask, a lot of women out there now, they have the value and the capacity to engage in politics. But the issue now is inferiority complex. They don't get encouraged. So I would like to ask now, the people that are there, that are in political offices now in Nigeria, especially in Nigeria, what can they do to help these women, to encourage them, in order for them to participate? We women, we have a high number, like we've said just now, but we are not encouraged, and women are emotional. So what can the people that are in political offices in the world now do to encourage women to take up political offices too?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think you want to take the first question, right?
The first question, that was about...
women are supporting women, because you were smiling.
I'm smiling because, that's a myth that we've been sold. Body language might support that myth, but more and more, there are women-focused organizations encouraging women to get up and do something. I mean, it ties directly to SDG 5, which speaks specifically to the gender thing. Again, I would refer to what Honorable had said, which is we are still in the point of rallying. Sometimes we are ready to take our place, but the pragmatic realities of what is on ground might not make it the right time.
Well, there's a woman, female presidential candidate who only got 1 vote. 1.
So we're back
it
to...
It shows that women are not voting for women.
So we're back to the fact that in the end, in the bottom line, like I said, there's always the pragmatic mix to the pot. None of us will typically eat an unripe fruit, so sometimes some things just have to really mature. Are things moving us in the direction of making women comfortable to believe that the value that someone says they are going to run with and deliver, for us to trust it? Are we getting to that point? I would say yes, because more and more trust is happening, shifting from who's guaranteed to taking the wild card is also happening. Is it going to take some time? Yes. But I would like to say that myth of women not supporting women is not entirely true. But to be pragmatic, will that woman deliver the big picture of what we need? We might not be there today.
Okay. Yes. Patriarchal society, Honorable Bush.
In an ideal world, when you participate in politics or when you present yourself for an elective position, the first requirement is for your name to be known. The second is you to be known. When I say you, I'm talking about your character. And the third is to make sure that you can deliver on the responsibility you're about to be saddled with. Those 3 things are very important. Now, aside those 3 things, there are 2 other things. When people trust your intellect and they trust your motive, they would follow you anywhere. The moment you're able to master those things and you're able to put it in play and not present it as, it's called politicking. This is politicking. It means you have to find a way around things. It means you must sell yourself. You must sell those values you have. You must sell that trust, that intellectuality, and have people trust your motive.
Awesome. I want to thank. I wish we have more time, but time is never a friend on this show. I want to thank Dolapo for coming. Thank you. I appreciate it. Honorable Director, thank you for coming. We
Thank you for having
appreciate
me.
it. And you, of course, clap for yourself. You guys are fantastic. One major thing we have to realize is that you cannot always move with just half of your population. And the time has come, women are more than 50% of the population. So if we go into leadership and we are not bringing in women on board, we are shortchanging ourselves. And it's time to give women a voice, and this is a collective effort by every one of us. And guess what? Women often do better in leadership. There are certain data that show that women leaders did better in handling COVID-19 than their male counterparts. It's time to build a new Nigeria, and we need everybody on board. Let's do this. God bless you. Thank you.
Big Talk with DSA, building a new Nigeria.